What is up, guys? This is Hanx-Saber giving you guys a deck profile, and it is a Noble Knight deck profile for the November 2015 format, might I add. And so this is probably my competitive Noble Knight deck for this upcoming format. It is something that started as a theory. It started as a theory that Brilliant Fusion can work in tandem with Lady of the Lake and gain you advantage off probably one of the better cards in the archetype, which is Ignoble Knight of High Lotus Land, which I really feel like is a great card at the moment. And under the theory that Dark Destroyer deck, aka Cosmos, has a really tough time getting over your Noble Knights when equipped with a Noble Arms, exclusively Destiny and Excalibur. I feel like the deck can set up a board really quite quick, and unless your opponent commits resources to getting rid of that board first turn, you have an upper edge on your opponent. And so, anyway guys, it's enough jibber jabber for the deck profile. Let's just get into the deck itself. Something to take into consideration, this deck is, again, something I fancy playing my competitive locals with. Again, the deck can just compete. I really like how it can cycle through your resources and just make competitive boards consistently. So anyway, guys, here we go. So obviously it is a synchro build. It is something that plays Lady of the Lake, and it plays it at multiples. So if I don't have your interest already, I should have it by now. So here we go. It is 3 copies of Lady of the Lake. So Lady of the Lake is a card that can gain you quite a lot of advantage because it leads you into this guy. And Ignoble Knight of High Lotus Land is a card that whenever it destroys a card by battle, you can add a Noble Knight or Noble Arms card at the end of the battle phase, which again is really quite good and powerful because of the fact that you can search out Last Chapter, which once your Ignoble Knight dies, you can bring it back with Last Chapter. So the fact that Lady of the Lake can set up your boards is very good. Now we have very efficient ways of getting our 1 copy of Noble Knight Artorigus, aka the normal Noble Knight everyone knows as the one that you usually don't play, but it's very good in this deck. I feel like it has quite a lot of potential, and I feel like Lady of the Lake is certainly the best card in the main deck, just utilizing your synchro plays. So there are those. Then I'm going to play 3 copies of the one of the best cards, again, one of the best cards in the deck is Noble Knight Madrot. This comboed off with Noble Knight Boars is again very good, making your wombo combos, as it used to be called back in hat format when this deck was somewhat of a thing. It was very strong. I really like how Boars plays as just a body that your opponents really have a tough time getting over. It's actually kind of silly how many resources Cosmos has to put into getting rid of this guy. A lot of the times, they'll either have Good Witch and you have Excalibur, which Good Witch is not as good, but if they do have Good Witch and they put it face down, then it's a little bit easier for them. But if they don't have Good Witch, it's really quite tough for them to get over Boars. So with that in mind, we're also going to play 1 Brothers, because Brothers helps you recycle all of your resources. It helps you recycle your Last Chapters and your arms, and a lot of the times you'll actually go into Brothers because of the fact that you can just have the option of searching more arms off of Boars anyway, so you can have your arms in the graveyard, recycle it back with Brothers, gain a card, and then activate Boars and just bring all your Noble Arms back. So again, it's very efficient that way. I really like the card. It has 2400 defense, which is really hard to get over in the game right now, and it's a pretty good card. So the last Noble Knight we play is Noble Knight Artorigus. Again, it's the Noble Knight that no one plays. However, it works into this deck profile quite nice. So again, that's it for the Noble Knight list. And sorry, of course we play 1 Queen, of course in Italian. So there are those. Then I'm going to play 2 copies of Gem Knight Garnet for our Brilliant Fusion plays. Gem Knight Garnet is a 1900 body that is, to be honest, is really tough when you draw it. It is not the best draw, probably the worst in the deck. However, if you can draw into Brilliant Fusion before you can draw into this card, which I set up the deck to do, is to draw Brilliant Fusion first, you have a really easy time, and these cards go to the graveyard quite easily, and so your probability of drawing them goes down quite quickly. So there are those. So that's it for the monster lineup. And so getting into the spells, for the Noble Arms ratios, we play 2 copies of Destiny, 2 copies of Excalibur, 1 copy of Caliburn, 1 copy of Galatine, and 1 copy of Arthur du Terre. This is probably deemed a minimal Noble Arms lineup just because of the fact that it doesn't really, it's not nothing too excessive. I think that you have to at least play this amount, of course, with the 1 extra queen, because most people play 2 queens as well. But I feel like this is not, it's not necessary to play so many Noble Arms, especially when we're playing somewhat of a turbo-based deck where we can pretty much draw into them most of the time. And so I felt like playing a minimal Noble Arms lineup was the way to go in a format that basically you have to draw all of your resources pretty much on point, otherwise you'll just lose the duel. So drawing too many Noble Arms was not a good thing. Then I'm going to play 2 copies of Last Chapter. Last Chapter is a really good card. It's something that we search most of the time. As soon as we get this on the board, we'll probably go for Galatine. It's pretty important to make sure you always save your Galatine for this. This way we have a 3100 stick that can just run over things. Search for Last Chapter. Whenever this dies, you just get Last Chapter, bring this back with Galatine pretty much equipped to it, and then you keep on getting advantage off of this. It's just insane. So that's pretty much the way the deck quote-unquote floats. I really like the way this card acts as such, just as almost like the deck's own instant fusion. It's such a great card. Again, it's just such a sacky card, but we love to play it. So, and of course we don't have to play 3 because we play Brothers. So with that said, we're going to play 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion. Brilliant Fusion is the card that pretty much brings us out of our little cloggy slump that Noble Knights are basically known to do. If you draw this card, you can pretty much, set up a really, really strong board. A lot of times when I draw this, I'll always send, where are my monsters at right now? I've lost my monsters, which is not a good thing. Pretty much always I will go for send Garnet, and I'll send either Queen. Artorgus is probably my most likely target, or I can send Lady. So these 3 targets are very viable. So if I didn't have a necessary, if I had a choice, I would always pretty much send Artorgus. If I had a Boars in my hand, I could pretty much send Queen. This way I could attach it to Boars and gain advantage off of Boars. Or if I had a Noble Arms in my hand, I would send Lady. This way I can summon Boars, activate the Noble Arms, activate Boars, special summon this, making Boars level 4, synchro into Ignoble, and just gain advantage off of that. So these are really good, our 3 options to play, of course, alongside our Garnet. So again, Instant Fusion is just so good. Being able to make a card that lets us normal summon twice, as well as just send our necessary resources to the graveyard. So Brilliant Fusion is in there for that. Again, we're playing a little bit of a turbo-based deck, guys. We're playing 3 copies of Upstart Goblin, just for consistency purposes. We lost the 2 Rhoda this format, so we're going to play those. 3 Chicken Game, it's very necessary to play this card. I feel like any deck that can destroy it before their opponent has the option to use it is quite good. So making that rank 4 king after utilizing this is quite good. Destroying it as one of your targets for Artorgus is good. And then I'm going to play 2 Terraforming along with it. I think that this is a very efficient way to just draw into cards. This is very good. It's more consistent than playing Rhodas. So there's that. I'm playing 1 Rhoda and 1 Foolish. I feel like these cards are really good because of the fact that you can, at any time, you can just search whatever you need with Boars or Madrad or whatever. And then with Foolish, you're just pretty much going to send whatever you would send off of Brilliant Fusion. So it's basically like you're playing 4 Foolishes. So that's really good. And then I'm playing the 1 Instant Fusion. I felt like playing Instant Fusion was still really strong, opposed to just playing 3 Last Chapter, because of the fact that this makes Dweller 2200, and it's really good against Cosmos and things like that. It's quite nice. So there are those, and then the only pretty much non-combo based cards I'm playing in this deck is 2 Dark Hole and 1 Raigeki. This is simply for board removal. This deck can push pretty hard. I'm not sure about OTK, but this deck can push pretty hard, and being the fact that we have Destiny as a card makes almost like 3 Raigekis pretty decent. So there's that. So that's our main deck. All monsters and spells. Getting into the extra deck really quick. This is pretty much like our Dante of the deck. It is Ignoble Knight of High Lotusland, 3 copies. I felt like 3 might be a little bit too much. I might test just 2. I might trade 1 in for a Volcanosaurus. However, I feel like this card is really still quite good. I feel like I'll always make 3 of this in at least one of 3 duels in a match. But when this card is Synchro Summon, you can equip 1 Noble Arms card to this card from your deck. When it destroys a monster, so you pretty much always equip Galatine, making this one 3100. Attack over something, you destroy it by battle. At the end of the battle phase, you can get any Noble Knight or a Noble Arms card from your deck to your hand, and just adding Last Chapter right away is just a really good way of keeping your advantage. And again, your opponent has to get so many resources to getting rid of this that by the time you Last Chapter, they shouldn't have anything left. So 3 of this is very good. For the fusions I'm playing 2 Seraphonite. Seraphonite is your target for Gem Knight for Brilliant Fusion. It requires a Gem Knight plus a light monster, and it says that it basically you can normal summon twice during your main phase, which is again really strong. It's a level 5, which is also really good because you can make Durandal turn 1, which basically wastes one of your opponent's resources in their hand. So 1 Seraphonite there for that. 1 Norden for the 1 instant fusion you play is again very strong, making Dweller plays for days is very good. And then for the Xyz, so that's it for our Synchro and fusions. For our Xyz, I'm only playing 1 copy of our Torgus and 2 copies of Sacred King. So the reason I play these at this ratio is because of the fact that I played Daigusto Emerald, and by the time you make 1 of this, you pretty much only have to go through 1 line of back row, right? So by the time you make the second, you probably ran out of so many resources that if your opponent has the out, you're probably going to lose anyway. So I would pretty much just play Daigusto after I play the first Artorgus anyway. That I would never want to make the second Artorgus, if that makes sense to you guys. So again, the 2 Sacred Noble Knights, I'll never make more than 2. I don't see why playing more than 2 is necessary, but whatever you guys want, I suppose. So those are the 3 kings we're playing. I'm playing Daigusto Emerald to just recycle stuff back. It's really good late to early game. And then I play 1 Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi is just good going turn 1 and making an Xyz with 2 lights. It's pretty strong. Discarding your hand, drawing 2 new cards, especially when you draw into cards like Queen or Lady or Artorgus, or even deck cards like Daigusto. Sorry, not Daigusto Emerald, Gem Knight, Garnet. So Tsukiyomi's in there for that. I'm playing Castell for spot removal and Cowboy. For salt purposes, I'm playing Dweller for Cosmos, and I'm playing Durandal for anything that basically likes to play, I guess. So anyway, that's my extra deck. I do have a side deck of sorts for you guys. Side deck changes like the wind, but I thought I'd give you guys one anyway because I'm just like that today. 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This card is kind of somewhat good against pendulum decks that like to activate in the pendulum zone, Luster Draco Slayer and things like that. 2 Maxi, I didn't want to main this because I felt like it wasn't good if you go turn 1, and you really want to get your plays off turn 1, so I didn't really want to play it. Also, it's really bad against the 2 of the 3 best decks, which is Pepe and, well, I guess it's decent against Pepe. It's not good against Magic Spectre, so I wouldn't play this in the main deck anymore. 3 copies of Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon is in for the 2 copies of Chimera Tech we play in the side deck. Basically, this card is amazing against Cosmos. You pretty much always want to side this in a 3 against Cosmos. It's something that really complements your engine because of the fact that you play a turbo-based deck. So, and it's also very quick to play. I don't like Iron Wall at the moment because it's something that you have to set, and it's something that you can just normal summon a Slip Rider and just get rid of, so I didn't really like it. But at the same time, I felt like Cyber Dragon was really good because of the fact that you draw into it so gosh darn often, and making your Chimera attacks, they just lose so much advantage. So, I really like the 5 as a option for Cosmos. 3 copies of Storm. Storm is a very, very good card, guys. I feel like you guys should invest in this card, especially for a deck like Noble Knights that plays a lot of spell traps. We play Brilliant Fusion here, we play Chicken Game, we play Noble Arms, destroying all your unnecessary resources. Get rid of all their back row, which is really, really good in the game right now, especially against Magic Spectre. Getting rid of their scales, getting rid of their traps, getting rid of their spells is all really, really good. It's just something that I would always play. These are going to get signed by Storm Lathrop himself, aka the Ignoble Knight of YouTube, so I'll be really excited for that. And then, still not enough back row hate, I play 3 copies of MST because they're Ghost Rare, and just why not? So anyway, guys, that is my competitive Noble Knight brew. I don't know what you guys think about this. It is something that I'm just trying right now. However, it did work on doing work quite a bit. I won a few matches against my friend who we were testing last night at my house for a little bit, and it was working pretty well. I don't play Merlin in this deck because of the fact that it doesn't work too well with Brilliant Fusion. Just because Brilliant Fusion, Merlin says you can only special summon Noble Knights the turn that you summon it, or activate its effect rather. Unless you wanted to cheat, it just wouldn't work well. So we're not about cheating on this channel, so I wouldn't play Merlin because it doesn't work well with Brilliant Fusion. Also, I don't play cards like BLS, I don't play any Darks, I don't play a lot of other things I used to play, I don't play any other like Noble Knights like Bedweir or Dristan. I feel like Dristan is a really bad card at the moment. I felt like Bedweir was really slow. I felt like our Gwalshavad was really slow. I felt like a lot of other decks would get over the exterior Noble Knights. I used to call them the exterior Noble Knights or outside Noble Knights because they're just not as good. So I felt like this deck was really good. It has purpose. It has, it has meaning. I really like it, the way it performs as an archetype. I just fancy this deck to be really good. I think it's going to be that kind of tier 2. But yeah, guys, that is all I have to say about the deck. It's something, again, I'm probably going to take to a locals or 2 before I get invested in Cosmos again. So any questions you guys have about the deck, put it in the comments section below. Feel free to net deck. I advise you to do so. It's a really good deck. The only thing I might change in this list is maybe I would trade in one of these guys for a number 61, just because I felt like going first turn, Seraphinite, Boris / Madrot, into a rank 5 is not always going to be Durandal. Sometimes it should be something else. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about the deck, and I'll be with you guys sometime soon. So anyway, for now, this is Hanx-Saber signing off. Peace, guys. Peace.